Christians get depressed too. Full of anxiety, depression, they get scared. They get filled with dread and terror about days to come. If you read the book of Psalms, you'll see there's a great variety of experience amongst Christians. There's much darkness recorded in the book of Psalms. Sometimes it's mixed with hope, sometimes it's not. If you read the book of Hebrews, you'll see that at the end of Hebrews chapter number 11, the variety of the Christian life is on display once again, where some perish by the sword, and yet some turn to flight the armies of their enemies. And so the point I'm trying to make is, don't be discouraged if you get depressed. Don't be discouraged if you ever become filled with anxiety. Don't think that there's something wrong with you. Don't think that you're not a Christian because you get sad. I have a book recorded wherein I write down certain tips that I get from men or women, and it's one thing that sort of sticks with me, and I enter it down in the book and I attach their name to it. So today I've got the tip or the bit or pearl of wisdom, I guess I could say, from Martyn Lloyd-Jones concerning this very topic, and it's how to deal with depression. Now, on the outset, I just want to say again, don't become depressed because you get depressed. That's the way to lose, okay? So we acknowledge we get depressed. We acknowledge we become filled with anxiety. We acknowledge that we become filled with fear, that's real. It really happens. It is a part of our experience. And then we make war on it. We fight it. Don't ignore it like it's not real. Acknowledge it, call it what it is, and then make war against it. So what did Martyn Lloyd-Jones say about spiritual depression and how to fight it? That's what I want to share with you now. I told you I keep a book where I write down these little tidbits from books that I read or sermons that I've listened to. And I have another book where I record the actual phrases or quotes from these sources. So it could be a quote from a book, quote from a sermon, but it's more full length. So if you'll humor me, here's the way today that I want to admonish you or encourage you to fight depression, to make war against it. And perhaps this will help shed light on the root of the problem. And we'll listen then together to what Martyn Lloyd-Jones says. So if you would, bear with me while I read this to you. I think it'll be worth the listen. Martyn Lloyd-Jones says concerning spiritual depression, I say that we must talk to ourselves instead of allowing ourselves to talk to us. Do you realize what that means? I suggest that the main trouble in this whole matter of spiritual depression is this. So the main trouble is this, that we allow ourselves to talk to us instead of talking to ourselves. Now stick with me. He's going to address the issue more and unpack it. So if it seems a little complicated, hang on. He's not purposefully being obscure. He's going to say that next. Am I just trying to be deliberately paradoxical? Far from it. This is the very essence of wisdom in this matter. Have you realized that most of your unhappiness in life is due to the fact that you are listening to yourself instead of talking to yourself? Take those thoughts that come to you in the moment you wake up in the morning. You have not originated them, but they start talking to you. They bring back the problems of yesterday, etc. Somebody is talking. Who is talking to you? And here's where he explains it. Yourself is talking to you. You have to take yourself in hand. You have to address yourself, preach to yourself, question yourself. You must say to your soul, "Why art thou cast down? What business do you have to be disquieted?" You must turn on yourself, upbraid yourself, condemn yourself, exhort yourself, and say to yourself, "Hope thou in God." Instead of muttering in this depressed, unhappy way, remind yourself of God, who God is, what God is, and what God is and what God has done, and what God has pledged himself to do. So there's Martyn Lloyd-Jones on how to fight spiritual depression. And the root of the matter is this. When you get up in the morning, first of all, my advice to you is you should pray every day, right away, first thing when you open your eyes. Just acknowledge the presence of the Lord, speak to the Lord, thank the Lord right away, first thing. And make that a habit. Before your feet touch the floor of your bedroom, make it a habit to speak some sort of word of prayer to the Lord above. And here's the root of the matter for Martyn Lloyd-Jones. When we get depressed, we tell ourselves stories. We interpret the world and we speak to ourselves. And what Martyn Lloyd-Jones is trying to get you to do is to stop doing that, listening to yourself, that is, and start directly speaking to it and say to your soul, "Soul, why are you cast down? If God is on the throne, why are you cast down? If God is who he is, why are you cast down? If God has said he will do thusly, why are you cast down? Hope in God, for I shall yet praise him." So, the first key that I would say in fighting depression is don't become depressed about being depressed. I know that seems a little bit weird, but it's a real problem. You can actually question everything about yourself because you're sad and you're like, "Why am I sad? I don't understand why I'm sad. I wish I was happy." So don't go down that spiral of being depressed about being depressed. Okay? Make war on it and fight against it. One of the ways to do that is what Martyn Lloyd-Jones says here, which is stop listening to yourself by default. Stop being passive and start speaking to yourself. We're not talking about creating reality. We're not talking about speaking things into existence that aren't actually there. We're talking about speaking to yourself what is there. That God, for example, that God is on the throne, that he is omnipotent, that he is omniscient, that he is gracious, that he's kind, that he's merciful, that he would receive you if you would come to him. You speak the words of not what you want reality to be. We're not talking about that type of nonsense. You speak the words of true reality to yourself rather than just being passive and listening to yourself. You speak actively to yourself in order to fight that kind of spiritual depression. So I hope that's helpful to you. I hope to share more things with you along those lines about things I've learned and how they're helpful. And I hope that's helpful to you.